Everyone in Bitcoin says the same phrase at some point. Be your own bank. It gets thrown around so much that it's almost lost its meaning. It sounds catchy. It sounds empowering. But if I stopped you right now and asked, what does that actually mean practically for you? Most people can't really answer that. So that's what this video is all about. What it means to be your own bank, what it costs you to do it properly, and where this idea might be heading. Because the more I think about it, the more I think we've barely scratched the surface of what it implies. Where does this idea come from? When Satoshi designed Bitcoin, the goal wasn't just to create digital money. It was to create money that you could hold yourself. No bank, no custodian, no middleman standing between you and your wealth. Bitcoiners took that idea and pushed it one step further. If you can hold your own money with no one able to stop you or approve you, then in a very real sense, you're not just a customer anymore. You're acting as your own bank. It's become one of the core pillars of Bitcoin advocacy. You'll hear it in every pitch. But like a lot of ideas that get repeated often, it's worth actually slowing down and unpacking it. What does self-custody actually mean? Self-custody means your Bitcoin is permissionless and trustless. Nobody needs to sign off on you sending it. Nobody can freeze it. Nobody is holding it on your behalf. Compare that to how money works for almost everyone today. Unless you're talking about physical cash sitting in your wallet or stuffed under your mattress, your money is sitting in a bank. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people never think about. Once it's in that bank, it isn't really yours anymore in the way you assume it is. It's a number in a database. It's a promise the bank makes to give it back to you. Most of the time that's fine, but it's not the same thing as possession. Self-custody flips that entirely. When you hold your own Bitcoin, there's no promise. There's no third party. It's just you and the coins. The responsibility nobody warns you about. Here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. Being your own bank means taking on the responsibilities a bank normally carries. Security, custody, making sure nothing goes wrong. And I'll be honest with you, this is not something you can be flippant about. It's genuinely easy to lose your Bitcoin if you don't do it properly. There's no undo button. I remember the first time I sent a meaningful amount of Bitcoin and realized, if I get this wrong, if I make something as simple as an input error, there is no customer support line to call, no fraud department, no chargeback. It's gone. That realization is genuinely scary the first time it hits you. And honestly, I'm still learning. I don't think that feeling ever fully disappears. You just get more careful, more deliberate, and more confident with practice. If that level of responsibility isn't for you, that's okay. You can hold Bitcoin on an exchange instead. But you need to understand what you're trading away when you do that. That's not really the intent of this money as it was designed. And it comes with real risk. You've probably heard the phrase, not your keys, not your coins. It exists for a reason. The part that actually excites me. Here's where it shifts for me though. Once you get past the fear, once the mechanics start to feel normal, this idea stops being intimidating and starts being genuinely exciting. Think about what you are actually doing when you hold Bitcoin in self-custody. You are performing a function that, for hundreds of years, only banks and institutions were allowed to perform. You are the custodian. You are the security. You are the entire risk department. That's not a small thing. What about yield? Now, a common criticism you'll hear about Bitcoin is that it has no yield. You just hold it. It doesn't pay you anything, unlike money sitting in a savings account earning interest. Some Bitcoin maxis will tell you freedom is the yield. And honestly, there's some truth in that. But I don't think that's the whole story, and I want to offer a scenario that I think is more concrete and more interesting. Imagine a future where individuals holding Bitcoin in self-custody start lending it directly to others, paid back in Bitcoin with interest, effectively yield. That person receiving the Bitcoin might then lend it out again to someone else who needs it, charging their own rate and making the difference, the spread, just like banks do today. That's not a wild idea. That's literally how banking has always worked. What's different here is the mechanism underneath it. Today's banks can create new money out of thin air to lend. That's fractional reserve banking. A Bitcoin bank, built this way, could not do that. It could only lend what it actually holds. No new supply, no dilution, just real Bitcoin moving from people who have it to people who need it, priced by an actual market rate. I want to be clear, this is speculative. Nobody knows exactly how Bitcoin evolves from here. But it's a coherent, plausible path, and it reframes "Be your own bank" from a slogan into something with real financial substance. Zooming out. If Bitcoin does eventually become widely accepted as money, genuinely replacing fiat in meaningful ways, which I don't personally doubt, then this idea of acting as your own bank might just become normal. Right now, it feels like something only early adopters do. But eventually, it will be just how people manage their money, and we don't know exactly how that plays out. But when I look at the full picture, permissionless custody, real responsibility, and the possibility of an entirely different kind of banking system built without the ability to create money from nothing, it's hard not to find that exciting. For me, this is just the next layer of understanding on the way down the rabbit hole, and I think it's one worth thinking about. If some of this responsibility side sounds daunting, that's a normal reaction, and it's worth sitting with rather than rushing past. I'll keep dropping more Bitcoin ideas and questions in my shorts over the next few days, keep you thinking between videos. And I genuinely like to know, where are you on this? Comfortable holding your own Bitcoin or still finding your feet? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.